in this 2023 NFL Draft to select Bryce Young.
2, 1.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN and 7:30 The Game. I'm Kevin Tolbert along with Skylar Callahan from Sports Illustrated. The Panthers just dropped their Week 2 game 20-17 to the New Orleans Saints. Still not far away from getting things right, I feel, but this was a tough loss.
It was. I mean, you would have expected that this offense take a step forward here in Week 2 after what we saw last week in Atlanta. We actually saw some flashes of good stuff last week. Even though everyone wants to write it off as this terrible performance, I thought we saw flashes. This week, we didn't see hardly any of it until that final drive, KT. Like, the offense couldn't get anything going on the ground. That's why Frank said we had to start throwing the ball. When you're playing behind the chains, you don't really have much of a choice. So, I think that was really the biggest difference in this game. The offensive line was a mess. We'll get more into that here in a second, but tough game for Carolina. You fall to 0-2. It's tough to make the playoffs when you start 0-2, but the good thing is you got 15 more games to try and figure it out.
And one of the biggest pieces of news for tonight's game is they've lost a big leader in Shaq Thompson going down with that injury.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard to come back from that. They did manage with Bruiser Hill come in and next man up. Seemed to be really successful, but still a difficult role to hold for him.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, he's the heart and soul of this defense. I mean, he is the guy that everybody looks to in times of adversity. And, again, credit to Camus Grugier-Hill, credit to the rest of that linebacking unit and that whole defense really to stick together and stay together throughout the rest of this game. I think really just kind of got to the point where they were fatigued in the second half because they were on the field so much. At one point I looked up, and they had 30 more snaps on the field than Bryce Young and the offense did. That's not going to be a formula that wins you games. So that's tough for them. Frank Reich said that this is probably going to be an injury that's going to force Shaq to miss an extended period of time.
Shaq did have a significant ankle injury. Probably going to miss some extended time, but we need some further evaluation tomorrow with the doc, so we'll give you the information when we have a full evaluation. Tough loss. We just got to own every bit of it. We got to learn from it and got to get better. Obviously, I thought the defense really played well, kept us in the game for a long time. I was encouraged, it's 6-3 at halftime and feel like we were struggling like we were behind the sticks all the time. Just couldn't get a rhythm or couldn't get momentum on offense.
And we did see some bright moments. Von Bell, we saw him get his first interception of the season tonight. Pretty amazing seeing this team start to come together, start to get into a rhythm there.
Yeah, how about against his former team too? I mean, that's not obviously didn't play with Derek Carr, but that's always good to get that one. Even Shai Tuttle, another former Saint, got his hand on a ball at the line of scrimmage. So, I think, again, all three levels of the defense really played well outside of maybe 2 or 3 plays on the explosive 40-yard passes. But I think they really did a good job. And, I think Azir Evers got a lot to build on here after these first 2 weeks.
And remember that name, Grugier-Hill. Yes. I didn't pronounce it right the first time, but I'll keep practicing so we can make sure we get that right because we'll definitely be seeing him in Seattle, I feel like. But Bryce Young, still putting the pieces together. He does a great job managing the game. Some issues with ball security tonight, a little bit. But it seems like he's not that far away.
He's not, and it's hard to really see that when you just look at the stat sheet. And Frank just talked about it in the press conference. Like, there's a couple of plays where if this or that goes right, then you're talking about 20, 30-yard plays instead of, playing from behind the chains constantly. So I think when you go back and watch the film, there's just these little minute details that you're going to see that really pop out. And that's going to be actually signs of confidence, really, because there's things that are going right for this team. They can't execute the full play. Once that starts happening, this offense is going to start clicking. The good thing is with Bryce, no moment's too big for him. The adversity, the pressure is not going to be too much for him. He's not going to fold or crumble, as we saw at the end of tonight's game. They could have just packed it in and said, you know what, the game's over. They drove right down the field, got in the end zone, got the 2-point conversion, gave themselves a chance really for that onside kick there at the end.
Now, one of the things they'll have to do to make sure that he can make those steps forward, they're going to have to get more cohesiveness with this offensive line, which is a hybrid of what it started to be at the beginning of the season because of all the new injuries.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got two of your starters out, Brady Christensen, Austin Corbett, I mean, those were two key pieces to what that unit did up front a year ago, starting all 17 games. And now you're without two of those guys. You're protecting a rookie quarterback. You've got, Caden Mays, who really didn't play much last year as a rookie. He's been being thrown into the mix now. Chandler Zavala, as a rookie, started last week on the right side. Now he's being flipped over to the left side. That's a whole lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving chairs to be protecting a rookie quarterback. So we'll see what happens. But I think as the season moves along and these guys get more experience, they'll be just okay.
And one of the other things tonight of note, no deep ball connections tonight.
Yes.
Still an issue in week 2. Where do they go with that?
I mean, again, I think a lot of it just stems from the run game and getting that going early. And I thought that would be an emphasis in this game because I feel like you didn't want to drop back 35, 40 times against this secondary. They're way too good. They're too talented. But when you're playing 2nd and 12 and 2nd and 14 and 2nd and 9, it's hard to really, get the run game going. So when you can't get the run game going, passing lanes are not going to be there. They're going to be able to tee off on you. And again, with the pass protection issues, it's hard to get the ball downfield when their guys are right in your face as soon as you get the ball. So tough going for Bryce Young. But again, this passing game is going to get going as long as the run game gets established early and often.
There's stuff that has gone well that we can build off of. Obviously, we're not where we need to be right now. But there's no loss of confidence, no loss of faith in the locker room. I'm grateful to be a part of this team. I believe in the team, believe in the coaching staff. Feel like we have what it takes. Again, we just have to execute and do a better job of putting it together. But ultimately, we have to go out and prove that. So I'm confident. I have faith and tremendous belief in the team, in this whole building.
Seen this before. It's not that far away. It looks bad, but really, I don't believe it's that far away. We make a couple plays here. Here and there, and next thing you know, you got 28, 30 points. I know that's true. I know we have the players and the coaches to do it. I have zero doubt about that. It's just we have to execute better on offense.
Now, it's a short week. Seattle's up next. As Bryce Young said, this is something that you have to make your peace with and then move on. But how difficult is that to do with 2 losses?
Oh, man, it's really tough, especially for a young team with a new coaching staff, a lot of new faces. And I think if you had maybe a same staff from last year, you could say, okay, we know what this is like. We can get past this. Right. We've heard Frank Reich just say, look, we started 1-5 in Indianapolis and we made the playoffs. But these guys haven't been a part of that. They weren't a part of that team. So some of those guys that were here last year saw that turnaround. We may see that. But it's all about buying in. It's about flushing it. And the good thing is it's a short week. They don't have time to dwell on this loss. So they got to get ready to move on to the next game.
And it's a short week for us as well. But we will be there. We'll be in Seattle to get you ready for the game. So be sure to log on to adsn1.com and to 7:30 The Game to get all of your Panthers news, notes, and updates and player features. So that wraps up the Carolina Pro Football Report here from Bank of America Stadium. Final score 2017. Your Carolina Panthers fall to the New Orleans Saints. We'll see you in Seattle. Be safe.